Hello, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Syndicate. We are here to review the latest Marvel Studios film, Black Panther 2. And the whole gang is here. Yeah, Jolie, how's it going?
Hi, and before you string us up, it's called Wakanda Forever.
What did I call it?
Black Panther 2.
Oh, whatever.
You know what?
Yeah.
It'll go down in the annals of history as Black Panther 2. So.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. And Bex Luthor.
Hi, I'm here. I saw that movie Thursday night. I went first.
That's right. How many times have you seen it since then?
Just one, unfortunately, because I'm broke now. So
Okay.
I used to see these movies like 4 or 5 times in a weekend.
Those
Movie
days are
tickets,
gone.
man. They're expensive.
My record is still seeing Dark Knight Rises 3 times in 24 hours. But anyway.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, they charge you to buy the tickets now. Like,
Online.
they charge you to just order them online. It's insane.
How
There's a fee.
stupid can you be? Anyway.
And at our theater, they took out all the places that you can buy tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They replaced
mine
it.
too.
They replaced all
Brilliant
the
business
booths.
model, guys. Yeah.
So you have to buy them online, and then you have to pay the fee to buy them early online. And
Okay,
then
guys.
you
Anyways.
have to go to the VIP 19 plus lounge because you have to have a beer while you're watching movies now. Right? You have to do that?
Right.
Just me? Okay.
And Joshua Mervell is here.
God.
Woo! All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
so we're
Parker is
back
here.
too,
All
yeah.
right. So we're here to talk about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Everyone who's watching this review knows what the plot is. Obviously, the biggest thing about this film is, unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman died. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think a little over 2 years ago now.
Right. So whatever plot they had in mind, I'm sure they had to rewrite, and his death is incorporated into the story right in scene 1. The movie opens with his character dying unexpectedly, and then goes from there. The basic plot is that they discover someone else has a source of vibranium, and it happens to be Namor, but in this movie it's pronounced Namor, the Submariner character from Marvel Comics, who, instead of being the king of Atlantis, his people are called. Does anyone remember?
They're from
Oh.
Talocan.
What is it?
Pelican City.
Talocon.
Telecon. Okay. And basically, it's kind of like a battle of alliances. Like it's a question of, are they going to team up together to protect their vibranium sources and also their cultures against the rest of the world, or are they going to, fight each other? And then the story pretty much goes from there. That's all I'm going to say. But since Bex Luthor saw the movie first, Bex, why don't you give us your first impression?
Are we doing spoilers or no?
I think so. Anyone who's watching this,
Okay.
we're going to do spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you might as well not watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cried a lot during this movie. The movie starts out like no soundtrack, silently, and Shuri is running around trying to save her brother, and he dies off screen without her there. And it was a very powerful scene. I don't know. I think most Marvel fans are probably most fans of cinema at least had some sort of emotional response to Chadwick Boseman dying. And I know, like, some people are like, why do you care? It's a celebrity. It's like, well, Black Panther kind of meant a lot to a lot of people. And it's just like, okay, so we're not going to ignore this. We're going to incorporate it into the plot. And this whole movie's the themes, they run around grief and dealing with that. And you watch all of the characters in T'Challa's life dealing with the fact that he's dead. And some are dealing with it better than others. But I cried a lot in this movie. I cried at the beginning. I cried in the middle when Queen Ramonda dies.
Mhm.
I cried at the end. I cried when Rihanna was singing. I was just at absolute mess. And it was, I don't want to say this because I know it's the most recent one I just saw, but I think it's my favorite MCU movie. I'm not gonna be able to watch it as often as like I'm gonna watch like Spider-Man Far From Home, like No Way Home or something like that, because I'm like, yeah, Spider-Man's fun. This one really, really got me. And just like this, just something, the way the cast meshed so well together, the fact that it was so heavily female led and like so not the way that any other of Marvel movies that are female led was. Like you have like the strong female character, and then you have the female characters in this movie that are incredibly well rounded and interact so well together and are the entire focus of this movie. And I was a big fan of Captain Marvel, but this to me blew it out of the water as far as like having a successful female-led superhero movie. I don't have anything bad to say. Like,
Yeah. I like how they didn't pay attention to the fact that it was female-led either. Like the way that they shoehorned every female in the MCU into one fight scene as they flew towards the bad guy in
Avengers, in
Avengers. They just did
worked.
They didn't call attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
It's just like the queen, the princess, her royal army, like everybody, Riri Williams, they were super good, well-rounded characters, and it was so heavily female influenced by everything. And then you had like obviously male supporting characters, but they were, I don't know, it just worked in a way that a lot of other female-led movies like don't. They didn't have to try because they believed in it so much. It wasn't like let's make a female-led superhero movie. It's like, let's make a superhero movie and the whole cast is women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Ryan Coogler did an amazing job with that. Both the script and the directing is fantastic, and I felt the same way with the first Black Panther as well. Like, I think it came out the same year or around the same time as Wonder Woman, and even the first Black Panther to me felt more of like a well-rounded, extremely well-written female characters in that movie, where it wasn't kind of like what you guys were saying, where it was just like, we're doing this because it's females, right, gang? Mm-hmm. It was just like well-written characters. So, yeah.
Well, and they all had their own story. They all had their own way of dealing with what was happening, which I thought was really interesting, you know? However, I am going to say the one negative thing, of course. I did think that despite the fact that I liked her character and I thought her story was good, as far as the time, like the actual running time of the movie and the focus of the story, I think they could have done without Ironheart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think some of her scenes were some of the most fun in the movie, and I think I enjoyed her character a lot, but they kind of just made her like a plot point in the movie and not a character. Like, she almost felt like an item that was just being like passed around and a tool to like bring in Namor. And it was kind of a bummer, and it's going to feel, I think, even weirder seeing the Ironheart TV show now that we've already established kind of who she is, and then going and trying to do like an origin story type of thing for her is going to feel strange.
Right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though, because I think she did a great, like the actress did an amazing job. She was a super fun character. I'm super excited to see more of her too. Like, I'm really looking forward to the Disney Plus show now that I've seen her. So, I mean, I guess that's good, and they kind of did their job, but it really did feel like the most MCU part of the movie where they were like trying to connect it to other things.
Yeah, if anything, well, she definitely distracted from the main story, but if anything, that should have been the second post-credit sequence. is discovering her armor or something, and then that would have just teased the show, right? And then and then maybe the show could have had a guest appearance by
Shuri
Letitia or something, right? That would have been a cool way to tie it together. But yeah, in this movie, it just felt like too much, considering with everything else that was going on.
Well, Marvel's been doing that with their new characters. Instead of like giving them a whole movie to introduce them, they're just shoehorning them in. Like they did the same thing with America Chavez in Doctor Strange, where she's kind of just a plot device. And I really liked her, and the actress did a phenomenal job. But like she's just there to like because. And same thing with Riri, unfortunately. So I thought that was probably the weakest point of the movie too. But I really liked her, and I liked her interactions with the rest of the cast. Like when she was with Queen Ramonda, I loved that. But
yeah, her and Okoye in like the dorm room is really fun, and like Shuri coming in and talking to her, like all of that stuff was really great. I thought that even like the highway like chase scene with her and her like Mark 1 suit and like the car and the motorcycle was extremely fun. Probably the best action scene in the movie, I think. So like again, I liked all the stuff that like all of the scenes that she was in, but unfortunately it felt like it kind of made the movie drag on a little bit long. And this movie is very long. It's almost 3 hours long. I think it's some of the runtime is definitely warranted. There's a lot to kind of cover, especially since they had to do all of these rewrites and incorporate the real tragedy into the movie. So yeah, and I think the only maybe other part that could have been possibly toned down or taken out was the Everett Ross and Quintessa scenes.
Elaine.
Quintessa, yeah.
Quintessa Elaine.
Yeah, I mean,
wait, is her name actually Contessa Elaine?
No.
Oh, I was like, there's no way. Oh, okay.
You know,
no. She's what's her name? Blah blah blah.
Julia
blah, blah,
Louis Dreyfus.
Yeah, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
You know, can I say quickly? I don't think we've ever talked about this because obviously Jolie reviewed Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Full Volume Podcast, but I haven't really reviewed it. But as much as I love Julie Louis Dreyfus, she is the last person on earth I would have cast in that role. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever read the comic, but
yeah,
that's not that character. She's not that character at all.
No, I think they just were like, oh, she's great on Veep. And we're like, okay, I guess we'll put her in here. Or maybe she's friends with somebody. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she fits the MCU tone.
Yeah, just not that character.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to be changing her character a lot, but she almost feels like just the evil Nick Fury. And it kind of works for the MCU, but knowing her character from the comics, it does feel a little out of place, like strange casting.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I was going to say,
for anyone who isn't familiar with the comics at all, this is not going to factor in at all. Like our opinions about the casting of her as this character, because that's me. I have no ties to the character, having read anything. I'm not, and I think I only just read something or found something with that character, and I was like, oh no, this is fine, whatever. Like I have no.
Well,
connection.
the closest. I mean, the closest thing would probably be Diana Rigg as Emma Peel in Avengers from the 60s. Or a modern analogy would be the Baroness from the G.I. Joe movies, who was played by...
Sienna Miller?
Yes.
Okay, that's not who I thought it was, but okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the closest modern analogy. But anyway, getting back to this movie, speaking of changing characters, the most controversial character in this movie is Namor or Namor, formerly known as the Submariner, the King of Atlantis. Now he's not the King of Atlantis. A lot of fanboys are upset because they're hurt that they changed him. But actually, it doesn't matter because Atlanteans are fictitious, and they were never said to be, to look like, Sean Connery. So I don't know why anyone is upset why a fictitious race is now, portrayed by someone who's basically an Aztec. Like, why does anyone give a shit about this? I'll never know. Anyway, I thought it was good.
Racism.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So anyway, I can just say, as someone who's loved Namor my whole life, I was super pumped to see him finally on the big screen. And Namor's a character that's never quite worked in the modern day because his costume is literally a green Speedo. So they give him some flourishes with the things on his chest and like the jewelry and the piercing through his nose. So that was really cool. And this new backstory that they've given him, I think, is awesome. And I'd also like to point out to people, and this is something that somehow Alex Ross even gets wrong. The first Marvel superhero is Namor. It's not the Human Torch. This is the Superman of Marvel, and he doesn't get enough credit for that. He first appeared in Motion Picture Funnies #1, and so I think it's a pretty big deal that he's finally on the big screen. Josh, what do you think of Namor or Namor?
Yeah, it was pretty cool seeing him. He's also, I think, the first like official mutant. I know that we've got some sprinkled in before, like I guess Kamala Khan is possibly a mutant now, but whatever. Yeah, I think that he did a fantastic job of the movie. This is one of the best supervillains I think that we've had in a Marvel movie, both because because of how complex he is, and we like as an audience, I didn't want him to be a bad guy. I was kind of like rooting for him the whole time, right?
Right.
When he does kind of like turn, and we as the audience see that like there's kind of no saving him at this point, like he's out for blood, like because of his past and his backstory. You feel this like knot in your stomach because of it, because you're just kind of like rooting for this guy. And yeah, the actor did a fantastic job. I love the updated costume, and I think they did a fantastic job with the effects, and designing the underwater world is like so great, and complemented by the score of this movie too. Like really added to the
score
atmosphere,
was
and
remarkably good. Yes, I noticed that.
So yeah, I really like Namor in this movie. I'm super excited to see him continue on in the MCU. Hopefully he's going to come and like punch Mr. Fantastic in the face or something.
Yeah.
Soon.
Steal his wife.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bex Luthor, what'd you think of, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Tenoch Huerta?
Sure.
Okay.
No, I'd butcher it if I tried. I'm sorry, sir, but you are very pretty to look at. That's congratulations. I don't know how anybody could be upset at this interpretation of Namor. Namor is a prick, and he's right. And in this one, he's a prick and he's right. There's like, and they did the little ankle wings, and they were so good, and they were kind of funny, but they weren't funny. And I was like, how?
Yeah.
Like, it's like how they made Aquaman not sad to look at anymore, because they were like, what if it's Jason Momoa? And they're like, this time they're like, what if we just make this incredibly attractive, like bronzed man? We give him little ankle wingies, and he's also stronger and bloodthirsty. Like, oh, yeah, cool. Dig it. Super dope. Love the change in the backstory. Love the incorporation of the Black Panther mythos into this mythos. Like, it's the same kind of. And then we have a little bit of the Moon Knight stuff coming in too, right? Because we have like the goddess Bast,
right?
And then we have the vibranium infused heart-shaped flower gives the Black Panther his power, but then it gave all of the people of Talocan their powers, and then it's like been passed on through the bloodline, I suppose. And Namor's different because he's a mutant, so it's like his mutation is a little ankle wingies, and then his like Atlantean part is everything else, which is why he's one of the only not blue ones. And I was like, I love that. I love the explanation of everything. I think it worked really well. I think it was really interesting. And the scenes with him and Shuri where he's trying to convince her, like, I was so scared they were going to like try to push some sort of romantic angle on this. And they just didn't. They were two governing superpowers and they weren't talking politically. It was fantastic.
I agree. G.I. Jolie, are you a fan of Namor or G.I. Jolie?
Is anyone?
I'm a fan of anybody who rides into the battle on the back of a blue whale and or is flung onto the flat part of a ship, I don't know what to call that, by the tail of an orca.
Yeah.
Sick.
Awesome.
Like Beck was saying earlier, and to some extent they were able to make the Speedo, the wings on the feet or the ankles, like not hokey. Like they didn't play it for laughs. Somehow riding an orca into battle was also not played for laughs. And like I was in all seriousness captivated. It was ridiculous. This man commands the sea, and here he is with all of the sea animals and creatures, and like it's not funny. Aquaman. Like Aquaman to me is like, even if it is Jason, when it's Jason Momoa, it's still a little bit silly. I don't know why, but for some reason I was like, yeah, that orca just flipped that guy up onto there. I buy this. I'm into it.
Yeah, I think too with like Aquaman, it's like the whole movie kind of has this like more cartoony, poppy tone, even with like the colors of Atlantis and just like everything about it kind of has
it has
a little bit more like.
Yeah, the cinematography is like clean. And I know what they wanted to do, or I know what they wanted to not achieve, which was they wanted to put these people underwater, like Aquaman, I should say. They wanted to impress upon you that these are underwater people without it looking like you were underwater. However, it didn't work because when you take that out, it doesn't look believable. But they did it here and they didn't like fully light the water, and it was sort of murky because they were like, Mariana's Trench deep.
Yeah.
And it looked awesome.
Well, let's be clear. Aquaman was many things, but all those underwater scenes in Aquaman were a mess to me. They were a mess. And in this movie, I was like, oh, this is how you do it. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was just so much smarter the way they handled all that stuff, right? I also love, again, the Atlanteans are blue-skinned. The way that they portrayed them was great. The little thing over their mouth, that was so cool, right? And like Becca said, the explanation of every little thing was cool because, again, for the people who need crying towels because they changed Namor's race, he was not Atlantean when he was created by Bill Everett. He was just generically like an underwater character. Then I think it was Stanley and Jack Kirby that made him Atlantean. Then later someone else made him a mutant, So he's evolved over time. No big deal. We're all still here. We've survived it. It's okay. They changed his race. Big deal. But yeah, I thought he was great.
Marvel's kind of known for using like our real world geography. So the idea that they would use the Mayans, the Aztecs, that lore in order, and the winged serpent, it makes total sense. So
100%. Okay, so now we've talked about Ironheart, we've talked about Namor. We are now going to talk about, is there anyone else new that we haven't talked about? I mean, Namora didn't really have any lines, unfortunately.
She was more like the general, but it wasn't really about her. But
right.
Shout out, though. She's there.
Yeah, it was cool to see her, definitely. We definitely have to talk about Letitia Wright as Shuri, who's now, spoiler alert, the new Black Panther. I really liked her in the first movie, and I thought she was great in this movie as well. Like she's someone different. Like her personality type and everything about her look is not like a typical female lead in the movie, and that's why I really like her. And I thought she did a really good job in this movie. And I can't remember, was this like did the public know she was going to be Black Panther, or did they keep it a secret?
I think they kind of tried to keep it a secret, but it's not that they try to keep it a secret. They just didn't announce like Shuri's going to be the new Black Panther, but it was pretty obvious, I think, in marketing. Like she had the Shuri like Panther blasters on the Black Panther suit, and then the Black Panther mask has like the same Shuri face markings that she has. So I think it was kind of like
a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right.
Like kids coming into the store be like, "Oh, the sister's gonna be Black Panther." Like it was just kind of like a logical conclusion.
Right.
Once they said that one thing that they did say was that they were going to take care of T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman. Once you figure that out, you're like, oh, okay, well, it logically passes to the sister. And this is a community or a race of people or a culture where it like they don't base their monarchy off of sex. Like they don't care. So it's like it was kind of like, okay, yeah, that'll work.
I'm also happy that the movie itself didn't try and hide the fact that, like, try and make it a mystery of who's going to be the new Black Panther. It was just kind of like a story point that the Black Panther didn't show up till like the third act,
right,
essentially of this movie. So,
well, that's the one thing, and we'll talk about this later, I guess. But we talked about the pacing of the movie. It was long, but I didn't mind the fact that there was so many scenes of people just talking and just letting the story unfold naturally. Like, for all of Disney and Marvel's faults and all the criticisms you can give these movies, they are still trying to tell a story. It's not just mindless action, right?
Yeah.
But Bex Luthor, what did you think of Letitia Wright?
Oh, she's great. As an actor and in the movie. I don't know about her outside of that. I hear some things. I know she got into a serious accident during the filming of this movie, during the motorcycle scene. So
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, they had to stop filming for like the rest of the year. So I'm glad she recovered successfully from that. But yeah, no, she does a great job at just portraying such a hurt and broken character, but also like she still has a people, that she still has responsibilities, and she just gets torn to pieces in this movie, and it is brutal. But at no point does like her character not change, but like she is the smartest person in any room at any given time. And I love that they were never like, oh, you got to bulk up to be the Black Panther. No, she can be the Black Panther and recreate the heart-shaped herb through science and using her mind. Like, that's dope. That's cool. And then I think my favorite part of this movie, shocking, and the best part of this movie is when she takes the heart-shaped herb and she goes to meet her ancestors on the ancestral plane, and who shows up is so dope. I almost don't want to say who it is. I know we spoiled everything else, but like, one, didn't see it coming at all, and two, works so well for how Shuri's character's developed from the first movie to now. She's just such a young, angry person, and she needs to learn that she can either accept that part of herself and use that and move on from it, or let it destroy her like it did somebody else. Oh, so cool. That was my favorite part, that when she comes out of that and she doesn't tell anybody who she saw.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because she's like embarrassed. She's like, well, what does that mean about me? But I mean, the other thing about the Black Panther movies is all their villains are right. So like Killmonger, spoiler alert, it was him. It was Michael B. Jordan. Like, they had to make Michael B. Jordan kill his girlfriend to make you not want him to win, because he was right the whole movie. So it's like her being like her cousin really isn't a bad thing in certain, especially if you're going to war. Oh, it was so good. I just loved every scene she was in. I loved the way she interacted with her mother. I loved the way she interacted with Okoye. I loved even the little bits and pieces she got with Riri, someone her own age, who actually was on like her level intellectually, like something that she's never experienced before. It was just cool. It's just a really cool, interesting new character for Marvel. It's to like I think she's dope, and I kind of am really excited to see more of her, but I'm not sure how much we will. Because it almost seems like she kind of wraps up at the end there. So.
Well, I was also thinking that I'm assuming this is going to be a trilogy. I'm not sure what they're going to do in the third one, but I'm sure they have something in mind, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll make plenty more.
Mhm.
Yeah, going into this, I was extremely worried about Shuri because she was, while a very enjoyable character, one of my favorite characters from Black Panther, she was kind of like a side character, right? Like she really played well against Chadwick and all of the other characters, even in Endgame, trying to save Vision and all that. Like, so she was like a very good like supporting cast, and then moving towards like main cast and that character becoming the main character of the Black Panther franchise, it was a little worrying. But I think they did a fantastic job of translating it. I think it helps that both Letitia Wright and Shuri are kind of going through the same thing during the course of this movie. Like they're both essentially losing a brother. And the fact that we know that as well, I think kind of elevates it to a whole new level. And I also really appreciate that this is almost like this is just an origin movie for Shuri now, right? Like,
Right.
And it's actually the same exact origin story as Black Panther from the MCU, because this is just Black Panther's storyline in Civil War stretched out to 3 hours, right? You have the death of a family of a parent, and then you have the revenge plot of killing Zemo or Namor, and then kind of getting over that, and like so it's very similar to that, and I think it's done extremely well. I don't think this is necessarily my favorite MCU movie. It might not even be up in the top 5 for me, but I think this is the best acting we have ever gotten in the MCU. I think both Letitia Wright and oh my god, Angela Bassett,
yes,
are like just fantastic in this movie. I don't think that anybody in the MCU has outacted them yet in one of these movies. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that, but they definitely did a great job. There's no question of that.
Yeah.
Julie, did you give your 2 cents on Letitia Wright yet? I don't remember.
Maybe. I don't remember either. We've been talking for a long time, so it's and kind of listening to everything and contributing well. So it's kind of hard to remember if I have, but if I haven't, I'm kind of indifferent about the actress.
Okay.
And the quality of the acting. I mean, and it's not about her politics or her beliefs. It's a little bit about her politics and her beliefs. I would be lying if I said it wasn't. So yes, it is a little bit about that. But also, I don't know. Because it's like, because they gave us 2 sort of super genius black girl magic types in this movie. And it was, I didn't think about it. And I didn't think about it for a lot, like, you know, I didn't dwell on it or analyze it until 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't start thinking about it as like, oh, shoot, that's what they did. They gave us like this, the equivalent of Shuri in this, like, you know, black girl from Chicago. She's like American black. And then like Wakanda, Africa, this is what this black looks like. This is what this type of power looks like. And this is the type of power that knowledge drives. And to me, it goes beyond whether or not I like Letitia Wright or the character Shuri. I think there is more for me, but there is more a cultural message for me, and I don't have an opinion on the actual characters themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm almost, it's not that it's less important, but I'm thinking about something else more. which is what this says culturally for Black girls, Black women, Black scientists. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't really think, Shuri, what do I think about her? Because I already kind of thought about her.
Okay.
And
So,
for the most part, it's just.
Well, I think there's only one. I mean, this character's not new, but I had to mention him because he has got so much screen time, and that's Martin Freeman.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about M'Baku.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But who?
I was like, M'Baku.
M'Baku?
Oh,
Winston. What's his name? What's the actor's name?
That is a good
Winston
question.
Duke.
Winston Duke.
Which one's he again?
The big old
The
hunk
leader.
of
Gorilla.
man.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him in a minute. But let's talk about Martin Freeman quickly because I've just been rewatching Sherlock, and it's one of my favorite shows, and he's excellent in that. His American accent in this is so funny. Like, it's accurate, but it sounds so weird. It sounds like it's dubbed, but it's not. Like, Gia, Julie, did you think the same thing, or was that just me?
I was impressed that he sounded American. And then I forgot what he sounded like with a British accent.
It just sounded funny to me. But his acting is always great, and his character was great. However, I got to point out... Oh, go ahead, Julie.
Well, it's so funny that they have two characters who are known for their comedic acting doing serious roles. I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus has been doing a serious role for a while now, but like, and so is Martin Freeman, but like that, you kind of know them for like being funny people.
Right, he is funny.
They're still funny people, yeah.
He was the better actor to play the Hobbit, and that's saying a lot because was it Ian? Well, okay, technically he was Ian Holm, but who was the other guy? Elijah Wood. I mean, God bless Elijah Wood, but Martin Freeman was better. But I gotta say one thing: the one stupid plot point in this whole movie was they go to the scene of the crime. And it's like, oh, the cops who numbered every single piece of broken. Oh, what's this? Look at, we found this necklace underneath. How could we not see? Come on. And then he puts it in his pocket. Huh?
What it was revealed that it was a plant. She put it there and they bugged it so they can follow her.
She bugged it, but did she plant it in that exact spot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
She said that they bugged it before he even got there and put it there knowing that he would grab it.
So all the cops didn't see it?
Well, they did.
They're in on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
they must have been in on it or something, but yeah.
Okay. Then I guess I take that back. It was brilliant.
I'm not saying it was brilliant, but
I mean,
yeah,
I don't think he was necessary in the movie.
Well, like the amount of screen time they gave him, you're right. It's like, why are they spending so much time on him? But I do like him, but you're right.
Yeah.
They didn't need to have that character.
Yeah, because he was kind of their in to find Riri Williams, right? That's kind of his main purpose in the movie. And then and then they used them again later on to communicate with Queen Ramonda about like where Shuri is and whatnot. But yeah, they could have easily written around that. I think maybe bringing back his character would have been a good choice at the beginning of the movie when the Queen shows up to the embassy, like the first thing, like a year after the events of the death. Because then you can kind of remind people that he's there, and that could be your like, remember this? This is also in the MCU moment. And not have to like drag it on for the entire movie. Even Quintessa, I think, is like, I don't know, like doesn't necessarily need to be in the movie.
Well, okay, sorry. This brings up another point. When they're in the United Nations thing in Geneva and they bring in a bunch of violent criminals into the room, like here they are, and they dump them on the ground because that would happen. Anyway, that was huh?
Like special ops, not violent criminals.
Well, they're the
military, French military.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, but they're basically accused of terrorism, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was Queen Ramonda was being like, "Hey, we found your government's people,
right?
Like trying to steal our shit," and like she was the leader of the French nation was trying to be like, "Oh, well, we don't know what you're gonna do." It's like, well, I know what you're doing. You're sending your military forces after mine. Like this is your last warning. If you do it again, it's war. Lol.
Don't get me wrong, it was dramatic, but especially because the room was so small, it felt really awkward, you know?
Interesting. I think I was fine with it. Like I bought it, I think because of the intensity of the scene and what was going
Mhm.
on, and Angela Bassett's like performance in that scene too. And then particularly later on when she's talking to Okoyo about how her entire family is gone in like the meeting with the rest of like the Wakandan council of the different
Yeah.
tribes.
When they're
Is
stripping
just,
her of her title, right?
yeah, unbelievably fantastic.
Mhm.
Actually, I think another thing that I it's not that I disliked it, it's just that I wish that we had dropped some of the other lines to continue this thread, but Okoyo's storyline felt like it was just dropped halfway through the movie. Like she was really tied into the plot and what was going on, and then once she was stripped of her power, she doesn't return until Shuri's kind of like, "Oh, I've got the suit for you," and then she shows up in a cool suit at the end of the movie. Like, there's no like
Yeah.
resolve for her character, and her being stripped of her like status and as the leader of the Dora Milaje. So and there was also like no resolve with her character and the Queen. Like I feel like I wish I could have gotten like a couple of seconds of like just her and the Queen as the Queen is like
Yeah.
dying or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Good point.
there wasn't like really anything for that. And then even her like suit at the end felt like, remember this from the comics? Huh? This is a cool suit. This is a cool suit from the comic books, and it was just kind of like shoved in because it was.
To
like
be
a
fair,
new cool
it did
thing
look really
to
cool because it was
introduce.
so bright.
Yeah.
But anyway, I
Yeah.
know what you're saying. I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like at some point in the in all these movies, you go, okay, what is this? You know, it goes back to that whole thing about, you know, in a mutant movie, the only fantastic thing in the movie should be mutants. In this movie, it's supposed to be vibranium and kind of like their mystical culture, both of them. But then it's like, oh, we're also gonna have a little bit of Iron Man, and we're gonna have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it, to me, it dilutes it. It dilutes like the theme, not the theme, but the tone of the movie a little bit, you know? Just like when they stuck the Black Knight into the Eternals. To my knowledge, the Black Knight has no connection to the Eternals. So why did they
Well,
stick
now
him?
he does.
Well, that, yeah, but he never did, and he doesn't. There's no thematic connection. Like you have like an Arthurian knight connected with Chariots of the Gods, basically. There's zero connection. You know, it'd be like sticking a film noir detective into a cowboy movie. Like it just doesn't match. You know, but whatever. Is there anything else about the plot we wanted to talk about? Like Becca, you mentioned that you cried at the beginning and the end of the movie.
Yeah.
There was a post-credit sequence where we're introduced to yet another new character. Should we talk about him?
Spoilers.
Yeah, I think so.
Spoiler alert. T'Challa's son, is he also named T'Challa?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Prince T'Challa.
So clearly he's being set up. I mean, I think in this movie he's like 5 or something or 7.
Yeah.
So in the next 10 years-ish, he could be the next Black Panther. So
It's interesting because as far as I've read in the comics, T'Challa never has a son. Well, he does in the comics, but it was originally for a animated movie. I can't remember the name of it. It's like Avengers something something something. And in this movie, Ultron wins and kills all of the main heroes, but not before they've all had sex with each other and had children. And then those children have to defeat Ultron in the future. So T'Challa does have a son in that with Storm. So he's Black Panther, but with electricity powers. And then they incorporated that character into the comic books, but not like the 616. Most of it's like alternate universe kind of stuff. So this could potentially be a fully original character for the MCU then, because obviously it's not Storm's kid. So that's cool. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to say, eh? Like he's
yeah. No, it was just more like the idea. Like it was a cool little ending. Arguably, it undercut the impact of this huge big ending, and then they come back and add a little bit more to it. I would argue that might undercut the impact of that last scene. It would have been better to not have it, but if they're going to introduce him, that's fine. Like, if they're going to do it in that way.
It's Marvel. They had to introduce a new character at the end in the post-credits scene. They had to do it. It's like contractually obligated to do it. So they're like, what if we introduce a new character in this story?
Yeah.
Instead of just like, here's Hercules.
I thought it was a fantastic ending. I really liked that they kind of, and I appreciated that they kind of split up the two endings between the credits.
Mhm.
So the last thing we see before the credits roll is Shuri sitting down by the fire, and she burns her ceremonial gowns to end the mourning of her brother.
Mhm.
That's kind of like a thing that was established at the beginning with the Queen, and that's her whole arc in the movie finished when the credits roll. And then once the like mid credits are done, we cut back and we pick up like the second after, and we kind of continue it, and showing that like not only is the Black Panther and Shuri's story going to continue, but like T'Challa's story is going to continue on, and his legacy will continue not only with Shuri but with his son. I don't know. I kind of liked it, and I also really liked that they didn't have a second post-credit scene at the end.
Yeah.
And that they kind of just had everything contained within this one movie. They didn't have to like have a stinger for something else in the MCU.
Right.
So
You didn't have Paul Rudd show up at the end and be like, whoa, crazy, it's
Right.
happening.
yeah.
The next movie.
So there's one more actor we're going to talk about. Becca, what was his name again?
Sure.
Winston Duke?
Oh, Winston Duke. Yeah.
Ugh, what a hunk. What an absolute
he
gem of a
was-
man.
He was super fun. I think he did a great job in the first Black Panther, and he almost plays like a very different type of character in this one. We kind of see a little bit more of his personality, and he's able to like step up and kind of help take charge after the passing of his like friend and leader, and how he kind of steps in and is a great leader for his best friend's sister as she's mourning as well, while also going through the same exact thing that she's going through. Really great. I love that they hint that he's going to be like the new king of Wakanda now, which is kind of interesting. Like he might take over ruling while Shuri is continuing as Black Panther, but still is able to like continue on with the science side of Wakanda. I really like that because I think her character really fits that thing, and I don't know if it would mesh too well with like the politics side of leading an entire country. So it's kind of nice that these two characters are so close and they can almost work together and both have their strong suits and like lead Wakanda together. So yeah, I think that he's fantastic. I'm super excited to see more of him. He's great.
Jolie, what'd you think?
He's funny.
Yeah.
He was annoying in the first Black Panther. Or he wasn't annoying. His character was written as sort of like kind of an annoyance to the current reigning Panther family. I don't know what you would call
yeah,
like Shuri's family. So it's obviously like passes the crown passes. I like that that thought that Shuri, she's sort of the last of her line, so she's going to take a step back and allow another tribe to step forward and rule Wakanda. And that is what is so awesome about the culture of Wakanda that we see a little bit more of, is that they are all sort of different nations inside there, and they all work to rule Wakanda forever.
And I like how his character was not just comic relief or just an antagonist. He was kind of subtly in between all those things, you know? So I really liked the way his character played off everyone else. So it was cool.
I like how they played his size for laughs. That was always funny.
And I just like how they also, he's like a moral right character for Shuri. He's like telling her like you can't let your rage dictate how you're going to like rule a people. And I like that he's funny and strong and also like very morally true to himself. It's very fun. It's a really good interesting. All the characters are super well rounded in this. They're just so much depth. Everyone's not just I'm the smart girl while I'm the big strong guy. Like
exactly. That's the key. You're right.
I think it's a very like subtle continuation of his arc from the first movie too, because in the first movie he's also kind of doing like a Shuri thing, right? Where he's like being very forward with his power and really trying to take over Wakanda. He's constantly like challenging T'Challa's power and authority. And then after kind of getting over that, in this one, he's now learned from his mistakes and he's trying to pass that on to Shuri. Yeah, it's great that like those subtle arcs on these background characters, and I think it just makes them that much stronger. So they're not just those comic reliefs, like you were saying, Jolie.
So, as of at the time of this recording, this movie has already made $331 million, so it's obviously a hit. And there's rumors of a sequel. I wonder if they'll make one.
Probably not.
So
they don't have the budget for it.
There's no interest. I don't know why they would do it.
Exactly. And I mean, here's the thing. I'm not the biggest Black Panther comics fan. I don't know much about Black Panther, but I have to give a shout out to Chris Sprouse, who drew several issues of the run from a few years ago that were really cool. I also recently read some 70s issues by Billy Graham, drawn by Billy Graham. And they were pretty interesting.
Not the televangelist.
Not the televangelist, and not the wrestler. But he was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and those are some really classic issues of Fantastic Four if you can ever dig those up. So there's my Black Panther pitch, I guess. But anyway, so overall, definitely a good movie. I'm glad I saw it. I'll see the next one. I guess that's it. I mean, I'm sure we all recommended it, right? Does anyone here not recommend this movie? There we go. We all recommend it.
Dude, I was at a party this weekend and like everyone's like, oh, so like talking about movies. I was like, oh, we just saw Black Panther. And one person was like, oh, I didn't like the first Black Panther. I found like nobody developed their characters, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not gonna see the second one. And I was like, all right, we're not gonna get along. Cool.
That's like there was a Far Side cartoon, and it was a big empty room with two people like eating hors d'oeuvres, and there was a big sign at the top, and it said annual meeting of the We Don't Like Dances with Wolves Club or something like that. It was like two people. And that's like this girl. She can go join that club for Black Panther.
Oh, cool. You don't like the thing that everyone likes. Okay.
Yeah.
You could have just not said anything.
Her and Marshall, they're the only ones at that convention. Anyway, okay. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining Comic Book Syndicate. Be sure to join us every week on Here Comes the Spider-Cast. I think all of our other podcasts are canceled. So that's the only one to talk about.
Ended.
Yeah,
ended. Sorry. Actually,
you better tune into Spider-Cast 2 before it's ended.
Yeah, it's ending soon, but there'll be other podcasts to take its place, so don't worry. But yes, the next movie we're reviewing is, what is it?
Spider-Man 3?
No.
Not Spider-Cast. Okay.
Yeah.
Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Ant-Man. Yes, there you go. So be sure to join us for that.
That's the next Marvel movie. Is there a DC movie coming out?
Shazam's coming out in March, I think.
Oh. Okay.
Isn't Ant-Man in February or March?
I'm not sure which one's first.
It'll be one of those.
Whichever one's first.
There's a Guardians holiday special.
Oh, yes. We should slot that in too. I can't wait.
Won't Jolie do that?
I would 100% do that.
Because that's the Disney Plus thing, right?
I'm more excited about that. Yep. But don't forget, Full Volume Podcast is on hiatus. So
okay.
we can pick up the slack on this show. But anyway. Okay, so that wraps it up then. Everyone, please join us every week on Spider-Cast, as well as our movie reviews. This has been Comic Book Syndicate. We don't have a tagline, so we'll see you next time.